March 29th, 2026, 3:14 a.m. Persian Gulf. A Virginia-class submarine sits 60 feet below the surface. Silent, still, completely undetectable. Its crew isn't moving. They're listening. Somewhere above them, two IRGC fast attack boats are circling. Running dark, no radio, no lights. They think they're alone out here. They're not. Here's the question that's going to define everything you're about to watch. What would actually happen if the US moved ground forces into position inside Iranian territory? Not a full invasion. Something far more surgical, far more precise, far more devastating. Iran has war-gamed this exact scenario. Their senior commanders have a specific name for it. And when you hear the answer at the end of this video, it will completely reshape how you see modern warfare. Because on March 29th, 2026, a U.S. Central Command quietly repositioned assets that sent a message no Iranian general could misread. Not a warning shot, a chess move. Executed 3 full turns ahead of anything Tehran could counter in real time. Hold that thought. The US and Iran have been living on the edge of open war for years now. In 2024 alone, IRGC-backed proxy forces launched over 160 drone strikes against American positions in Iraq and Syria. The Houthis, Iran's arm in Yemen, shut down commercial shipping lanes in the Red Sea, rerouting tens of billions in global trade overnight. Iran's Shahed 136 loitering munitions, GPS-guided suicide drones, became the signature weapon of Iranian-backed conflict. Think of them as flying IEDs with wings. One costs under $20,000 to build. One American destroyer costs $2.1 billion. Iran's math is intentionally brutal. But here's what almost nobody is covering right now. The real danger was never the drone swarms or the missile launches. It's something quieter. Something that's been slowly assembling itself along the Strait of Hormuz for 18 months. Stay with this because it changes the entire picture. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. 1/5 of the world's oil passes through it every single day. If that strait closes, even for 72 hours, global oil markets crack, economies freeze. Iran understands this perfectly. It's their geographic trump card, their only real piece of leverage against a military they could never match head-on. Military planners have a name for Iran's core strategy: the Hormuz squeeze. It's not simply a blockade. It's a layered pressure campaign. Minefields, fast boat harassment swarms, drone saturation attacks, and coastal missile threats all activated simultaneously. Designed to make the strait too costly and chaotic to navigate without direct armed escort. Iran has rehearsed it repeatedly, and the US Navy has spent the last 4 years quietly building a countermeasure most people have never heard of. Start with the USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN-78. The most advanced warship ever constructed by any nation in human history. What is it? A nuclear-powered supercarrier, floating airfield, mobile command center, and global strike platform fused into one hull. How does it work? It carries up to 90 aircraft, launches sorties using electromagnetic catapults faster than any previous carrier in the fleet, and generates more combat flight operations per day than anything Iran has ever had to face. Why does Iran fear it? Because the Ford doesn't need to come close to Iranian waters. Its aircraft can strike hundreds of miles inland before Iranian radar even logs the takeoff. The carrier is the visible fist. But the real weapon hides beneath the surface. The Virginia-class submarine is the invisible blade. What is it? A nuclear-powered attack submarine so acoustically quiet that US engineers describe it as functionally undetectable in open water. How does it work? Anechoic tiles across its hull absorb active sonar pings. It can launch Tomahawk cruise missiles from its torpedo tubes without ever surfacing. Iran would never hear it. Iran would never see it. Why does Iran fear it? Because Iran's own Fateh-class submarines operate only within coastal ranges. They're built for shallow water harassment, not deep water warfare. A Virginia-class would hunt them before they left port. Here's the number that stops Iranian naval planners cold. The United States currently operates 19 Virginia-class submarines. 19. Iran has no confirmed capability to reliably track even one. 19 near-invisible weapons platforms, operating at any depth in any ocean at any moment. That asymmetry isn't a gap. It's a different universe. And then there's the system that knits all of it together. The one Iran cannot jam, cannot blind, and cannot outrun. We'll get there in 60 seconds. But first, there's a twist in Iran's strategy that nobody in the Western press explained correctly. Iran's entire deterrence model was built on one assumption: that U.S. response would be slow, that congressional hearings, political deliberation, and chain of command approvals in Washington would give Iran a 12 to 72-hour window after any provocation to reposition, de-escalate, or deny involvement. Every IRGC operational playbook from 2020 through 2025 counted on that delay window. But in 2026, that window no longer exists. Pre-delegated strike authority, automated threat classification protocols, integrated command architecture that compresses decision time from days to minutes. Iran built its deterrence around a clock that has already stopped ticking. Everything I just laid out, that was just the architecture. What happens next is the reason this video exists. Let's run the scenario. March 29, 2026, Iran executes a scaled version of the Hormuz squeeze. The IRGC deploys fast attack boat swarms across 4 choke points. 30 vessels, running in coordinated waves. Simultaneously, Shahed 136 drone clusters launch from 3 hardened coastal sites. The logic: overwhelm U.S. naval point defense systems through sheer volume. Force the math to fail. Make the Phalanx CIWS, the Navy's close-in robotic anti-missile cannon that fires 4,500 rounds per minute, burn through its ammunition before the wave ends. That's the play. Here's what Iran doesn't know. The E-2D Hawkeye, the U.S. Navy's airborne radar and battle management aircraft, has been orbiting silently at 25,000 feet for the last 6 hours. It sees every boat, every drone, every launch vector, every course correction, and it's been feeding all of it in real time to 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers positioned 20 miles back over the horizon. Those destroyers carry the SM-6 missile, a weapon capable of intercepting threats in the air, on the surface, and just beneath the waterline. One destroyer holds 96 missile cells, 30 fast boats, 96 missiles. The math breaks differently than Iran calculated, but here's where the scenario pivots in a direction no public analyst predicted, and it involves what Iran believed was their guaranteed backup plan. Iran activates coastal Noor anti-ship missile batteries, sea-skimming, fast, Chinese-derived. These are the weapons designed to punch through destroyer defenses after drones and fast boats absorb the initial response. Dangerous, well-rehearsed. On paper, it should have worked, except the EA-18G Growler was already in the air. The Growler is the Navy's electronic warfare jet. It doesn't fire bullets, it fires noise. The precision electromagnetic interference that blinds radar, scrambles targeting data links, and severs the signal chain guiding the Noor missiles to their targets. The missiles launch, they climb, they arc toward the fleet, and then they go completely dumb, losing lock, veering off course, impacting nothing. Iran's entire backup plan is sightless before a single round connects, and that's when the Virginia-class submarine 15 miles offshore launches 2 Tomahawk cruise missiles directly at the coastal battery that fired the Noors. Not in retaliation, not in response. On pre-approved targeting coordinates loaded into the system before Iranian boats ever left their docks. The battery ceases to exist in 11 seconds. Iran's offensive coastal launch capability in that sector, gone. The entire engagement is from the first drone launch to the destroyed battery, 41 minutes. Iran had planned for a 3-day crisis. The U.S. closed it in under an hour. And now, that question from the very beginning about U.S. ground forces, about Iran's worst nightmare scenario. Everything you just watched is the context you needed to understand the answer. Here it is. The nightmare for Iran isn't a carrier strike group. It isn't 19 submarines or a wall of SM-6 missiles. It's the special operations forces that move before any of that begins. SEAL teams, forward observers, personnel embedded in positions the U.S. refuses to publicly confirm and Iran has repeatedly failed to locate. They don't fight the battle. They set the coordinates that turn the battle into something that ends before it starts. In ground forces inside or on the border of Iranian territory, by even a small, precise element means the U.S. can observe from the inside while striking from the outside. Iran's entire air defense architecture is built to track aircraft and missiles, approaching from known vectors. It has no tested doctrine for a threat that already exists within the perimeter. No radar solution, no intercept window. That's the worst nightmare, not an invasion. Precision without a front line. The U.S. doesn't need to occupy Iran to defeat it. It just needs to already be one step closer than Iran ever expects. If this changed how you understand what modern military power actually looks like in practice, subscribe. Next video, how Iran's proxy network across Iraq and Syria is quietly fracturing, and what the U.S. did that no major outlet reported.